Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. I hope that you're doing well. I hope you had a lovely week. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Emme and this channel is all about life abroad, living in Canada, expat related things, travel stuff. I moved to Canada in 2016, so almost 6 years ago, which is crazy. So I use this channel to kind of share my experiences and tips and knowledge and just like general life related things. So if you're interested in that kind of content, don't forget to check out the rest of my channel, and I post every week, so I mean subscribe if you want to. Today's video is going to be the next part of my new quick start to Canada series. I don't know if that's what I'm going to call it. Newbie starter guide to Canada. Things I wish I knew before I moved to Canada. Some tips for Canada, moving from another country. I don't know what this series is going to be called. I'm going to put it all in a playlist. Basically, it's a series of steps about how you can move to Canada. My first video was about getting a visa, a working holiday visa, which is the one that I came on. And today's video is going to be about the next thing that you should consider. And that, my friends, is getting a job. I know, so exciting. Actually, it is quite an exciting thing. I think it's a really big deal, and it's also one of the most difficult parts of the journey. So I have a few tips and tricks here that I kind of use myself, and hopefully will help you out too. I just want to say that getting a job in Canada from another country is really difficult, and if you're currently in this process, just keep on going. You know, it's a tough one, and I really hope that today's video can help you out, or at least offer you some comfort so you know that it is really tricky, but once you get there, it is worth it. So the first step before you do anything else is changing your resume. I know, this sounds very weird. So for example, in the UK, we don't have resumes, we have CVs. I'm not even gonna try and pronounce what that is. Curriculum vitae, you know, considering that I'm a writer, I have a really bad way with pronunciation of words. I'm really bad at it. Anyway, in England we have CVs, which are like much longer than what a typical resume would be. They're like a few pages long. You have like intricate details about like, you know, previous jobs. You have all the details. You probably have references down there. You probably have, you know, education things and volunteer things and unpaid placements and everything basically that you want to throw on your resume, your CV rather, not resume, CV, you put on it. So when I came to Canada, I had a massive long CV, and my recruiter was like, no, this is wrong. So the first thing you want to do is start formatting your CV or your resume into a Canadian format. Typically, a Canadian resume is around 2 pages long. I think that that's probably the cleanest way. If you're printing off physical copies, it's just like 1 page you can do back and front. And then if you're emailing, it's just easy, 2 pages, you know. I wouldn't go much longer than that. If you've got loads and loads of work experience, I think just like highlighting the major ones. Again, I'm just going to reiterate, I'm not a professional, but these are the things that I found help me and the things and tips that I've picked up from actual professionals. So that's what I'm just going to say. I ended up like knocking off a bunch of things that I didn't need. I took off all of my volunteer work, all of my unpaid placements, unless it is relevant to the job that you're applying for. And we'll get into that a bit more later. You kind of don't need a lot of the fluff. It is really just the meat of your main skill set. So your main jobs, if you had like office jobs before, if you're going for an office job, or if you're doing something specialized, if you've got any experience in that. Obviously, if you're doing something specialized and it requires a lot of, you know, education, you're gonna keep including that. It really does depend on what you're going for, but essentially you just don't want any fluff on it. You want to consolidate as much as possible so you get your point across as quickly as possible, because a lot of the times, you know, when people are looking through them, when you have like hiring managers and HR, they're just quickly skimming through CVs. I have done this. I'm guilty of CV skimming. You're just kind of looking for key things. So you want to make sure that it's really clean, that all of the major things stand out, that the right things are bolded, that, you know, the information that they want, the dates and where it's located, and everything that they want to know is clean and cut. You can go online and find really good templates these days. For example, Canva, in my opinion, is just a brilliant resource for if you want to make your CV stand out, not just on a word processor. I think it's a really, really great place to start. And also it does kind of show you how resumes are kind of laid out. If you are uncomfortable doing it yourself though, there are actual companies that do write resumes for you, resume writing companies. They can be a bit pricey, especially if they're, you know, good, but it can be really, really helpful, especially if they're kind of recruiters as well, where they can help you. So definitely look into that kind of thing. Also, if you're going to Canada with a travel company like Bunac, usually those kind of companies have people that will look at your CVs. They have people that are specialized in placing people and helping people find jobs. So definitely look, if you're going with a travel company, see if they have a resource for you. And also if you're working with a recruiter, that's how I found out, they will also help you too. When I was working with a recruiter, they helped me figure out my CV. They helped me absolutely tailor it to each job. And that's what I meant earlier about really tailoring your resume to the job. So what I kind of learned along the way is that you don't want to be sending the same resume to every single person, because not all of your experience is going to be relevant to every single person. If you're going for an admin job here and then a service job here, the same resume is not going to fit for both of those positions. So you want to make sure that you're tailoring your resume for each kind of position, because you might not just be going for one kind of job. Some people might be, but generally if you're coming to Canada and it's your first job in Canada, you want to open that net real wide and you want to have multiple things. So for example, for me, I had two resumes. I had one for administrative assistant jobs, so just kind of anything base level, entry level, and I also had a more specialized one that reflected the experience that I had in the UK and my degree. Another thing that is really important when you're looking at your resume is that things might not mean the same in Canada as they mean in your home country, and when I say that, I mean things like job titles might not translate, so it's really important to make sure that your job titles, for example, are translating well. So a good example of this would be like a marketing executive. So in the UK, a marketing exec is kind of like the entry level job. Like that's your first job when you go into an agency, would be like a marketing exec. But in Canada, an executive is much, much higher up. So if you had an executive in Canada, they would be kind of senior management staff, usually, is in my experience. So it wouldn't look right if you had like a marketing exec job and then you got promoted to an account manager. They would be like, well, why did you get demoted? Whereas in England, you'd be like, well, that's obviously a promotion. Here, it doesn't really translate. So making sure that the wording is correct is another one, and that's something that recruiters and agencies can help you out with. So definitely get it checked, especially if you have friends in Canada, you know, or if you have people that are already working in Canada, just get them to check it over, see if it makes sense to them. Because remember, your resume is like your first impression. It's what a company's going to see first. So it is really, really important to get it right. And I do find that if you have a nice clean resume that looks really, really nice and it stands out, they're the ones that have got, in my experience, the best response. The next thing that you want to do on your journey to getting a job in Canada is start looking before you leave for Canada. Now, I don't mean start applying before you leave for Canada, although if you do find something that you really like, I mean, go for it. Really, in my experience, companies, unless they are experienced in hiring people from other countries, they're not going to hire someone who is in another country, even if you do have a visa, because they could just hire someone who's already in Canada. So the reason why I say look before you go is just so you can get an idea of the job markets and the industries that you might be interested in, get an idea for the type of jobs that you want to go for, what they look like, get an idea for the job descriptions and what they're asking for, so you can kind of hone in your skills, figure out how your resume's got to be, and really, really tailor it down. Job descriptions and postings I found in Canada are really different to England, and I'm sure that is very similar to other countries. Every country has their own way of doing things, so I think just getting an idea and getting an understanding of different jobs and the titles and what they look like and what they're asking for is really, really helpful before you go, because then you can kind of get straight into it when you do get here. You know what you're looking for, you know what they're going to ask for, you know what skills you have and what you can bring to the table. So definitely just start looking, even if you're not applying. Another reason why I think you should start looking before you go to Canada is so you can get a general idea of the jobs that you're interested in the locations that you might want to be. Not every city has the same opportunities, and some cities have better opportunities than others. For example, and I've used this example before, but I'll use it again. If you're in finance, for example, Toronto is the perfect place to go. It really is the financial capital of Canada. There is absolutely loads and loads of financial jobs in Canada. So if finance is the kind of industry that you want to be in, Toronto's going to be awesome. Same with admin assistants. Obviously with financial firms and things like that, there are so many companies in Toronto and everybody needs pretty much an admin assistant or HR or things like that. So Toronto really is kind of like a huge hub for those kind of jobs. However, if you're into, for example, technology, places like Vancouver and Victoria are going to be way more interesting for you. Victoria and Vancouver are two of the biggest kind of hubs in Canada for technology jobs, especially I think Victoria. I think it's just because it's on the same time zone as California, which is where all the big tech companies are. So you do get a lot more, in my experience, tech jobs in this kind of area. Obviously, other industries are going to be different. Like Calgary is going to have certain jobs like mining. Do they do mining? Oil. Is it oil in Calgary? I think it's oil. Or like farm work, things like that. BC and Alberta have a lot more if you're like want to do like ranch work or farm work. Or if you want to do skiing, things like that. If you want to do certain ski seasons, obviously places like Whistler are going to be a real big hub. A lot of places in BC and Alberta have amazing ski resorts, but also there are ski resorts in Ontario and Quebec and places like that. So it's just really, really good to get a general idea of not only the job that you want to do in the industry you want to be in, but also where in Canada has those kind of jobs. And what is your priority? Is your job your priority, or is your location your priority? It just helps you out so you know what to expect when you come to Canada. The next thing that I would recommend you do, and this is a real big one, it's one that I always say to people, is work with a recruiter. Now, there are so many recruiters in all different places. I'm not gonna list a bunch. The best way to find a recruiter, in my experience, is to Google recruiters in the place that you wanna be and check the reviews. Also, when you find somebody, check what their jobs are. They usually have job listings on their website. Usually it has the recruiter who's in charge, the email, and you can just email them with your resume and they can help you out if they're interested in you. So getting an idea of where the recruiter is, their reviews, what kind of jobs they post, also if they're posting permanent jobs or temporary jobs or contract jobs. Temporary jobs usually are the first job that most people get when they come to Canada. Canadian work experience is really, really important. So generally, that's what a lot of people do get. So you probably are gonna get a lot more bites with someone who is recruiting for temporary jobs. But just because it's temporary doesn't mean that it's actually temporary. A lot of temporary jobs do become permanent contract jobs. So you could get lucky. So don't just turn something away because it is temporary. Also, a lot of the times these recruiters who are doing temporary work placements are more experienced with placing people that are outside of Canada or who are coming to Canada for the first time. It is worth noting, if you are deciding to work with a recruiter, that you probably will have to go through some kind of process. So for example, sometimes they will have things like proficiency tests that you have to take so they know how fast you can type or like how proficient you are at Word and Excel and PowerPoint, just those standard skills that a lot of like admin assistants are asked for. Also, you'll probably have to do like a phone interview and then an in-person interview. It's not as scary as it sounds. They say interview, but it's more just like a chat just to see if you and them work together. But it is kind of a longer process. It's not really, really long, but obviously it depends on like how fast you can get there and when your schedules sync up. So it's not like an immediate thing. I think working with a recruiter, especially if you're going to work with numerous ones, it's going to take a few weeks to kind of get into the recruitment agency so you can start looking for and applying for jobs. The next thing that you want to do, and this is definitely again for kind of when you get to Canada along with the recruiter, is make job searching your job while you don't have one. So by that, I mean, make sure that you have a routine. What I did was work 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, and during that time, I would be looking for jobs. I made it my job to find a job, and I felt that not only did that put me into a kind of a good routine, but it also helped me focus on things, and it also helped me motivate myself to keep going, because looking for jobs can get very, very tiring. You know, whether you're applying online or you're going to interviews or you're going to recruitment agencies or whatever it is that you're doing, handing your CVs around in real life, it can get very, very tiring. And I feel like when you put yourself and you give yourself a time limit, like a structure to your day and a routine, it really does help, and it gives you a chance to take a break from it so you're not always doing it. So give yourself a kind of daily routine of when you're going to apply for jobs, and make sure that you're giving yourself a break too. Also, talk to friends. If you have any friends or relatives, or if your friends have relatives, or your relatives have friends, or your friends have friends who are working in Canada, chat to them, try and network, see if they know of any openings. A lot of the times it is through referrals and who you know and networking in Canada. So if you know somebody, especially if it's somebody in an industry that you want to be in, or just that has a job that you are qualified to do, just chat with people and see what they know, because you really never know who's hiring. I mean, you could meet somebody walking in the park and they could be hiring for the job that you really want. So really just network as much as possible, talk to as many people as possible, because you really never know where your first break is going to come from. And finally, this is going to be the biggest piece of advice that I give you in this video, and that is just don't give up. I know that seems obvious, but I do know people that have come to Canada, really struggled to find something that they wanted to work in, and then just left because they gave up. And that's really, really sad. Obviously, it doesn't work out for everybody. And obviously, if you're hating it, then, you know, as I say, it doesn't work out for everybody. So sometimes people do leave for that reason. But if you really, really want to be here, then just don't give up. It can be a really, really long process. You might get lucky and get a job really, really quick. And depending on the industry that you want to be in, it's going to take some time to get the job that you actually want. If you're, for example, in a professional role and you're in like a senior position in your country that you're in now, in my experience, it's going to be a stretch to kind of find a similar position, because people do value Canadian work experience so much. So accept the fact that you might have to take a little bit of a back step, or you might have to go into something that is temporary for a little while just to get some experience, or you might have to do a service job for a while, or just something to kind of get your foot in the door and get some money rolling in just temporarily. But your job is just a huge part of defining your experience in Canada. So if you are in something temporary, don't settle, keep going. It might be a process of a couple of weeks or a couple of months, or maybe even a year or something. You just never know, especially if you want to be here for longer. If you're obviously on a working holiday visa and you're just here to like make some money and have fun, it's going to be a totally different experience. But if you are trying to move here permanently, or you want to do something that's more professional, it's going to take you a little bit longer, in my experience, to kind of get to the place that you want to be. So just don't give up, keep going, keep chatting to people. Just remember that it's not forever, and you can keep moving on. You can change industries. Just get a feel for what you want to do. And remember that your first job doesn't have to be perfect. It really is just a way to get your foot in the door. But the one thing I would say is to think about what you want to prioritize. Are you prioritizing your job, or your location, or your experience, or your wage? And just kind of pick one of those things and then run with that. Especially job versus location. Would you rather be in a specific place, or would you rather have a specific job? As I say, unless you're really, really lucky, you're not gonna get the perfect job the first time round. For me, I had a couple of priorities. It had to be full-time, and it had to be of a certain salary, because that was how I was going to survive living in Toronto. But at the time, I wasn't as fussed about what industry I was in or what job I was doing. I just wanted to prioritize those two things for my first job, so then I would go from there. So just prioritize what's important to you, be open-minded. It might not be the job that you expected, but it might pleasantly surprise you. So let this be an opportunity for you to try something new, for example. If you never thought you saw yourself working in finance, then why don't you try finance, or a marketing agency, or maybe go back into service and hospitality and try and see what that is like, because something might spark your interest that you never would have tried back home. I think that is one of the most amazing things, is coming to Canada and coming to a new country and actually having a whole blank slate to start all over again, and just trying something that perhaps you never would have tried in the country that you came from. I think that is a really awesome thing, and it's something that I thought about. You know, I just wanted to try something. I didn't really mind what it was going to be. I wanted to try something new that I'd never ever would have applied for in England, and it really worked out well for me. It doesn't work out well for everybody. Obviously, this is purely based on my own experience. I'm not a professional in any way, and this is not advice, it's just for entertainment. But just kind of stay open-minded, you know, it's all fun. We're all just having a good time. And with that, I really hope that this video helped you out. If you are looking for a job, or you're considering moving to Canada, or you're starting your job process, I wish you all of the luck in the world. Obviously, as I say, It is a long process. Moving abroad anywhere is a long process and it can be very stressful, but it really, really is worth it. And just kind of try to have fun with it, you know, enjoy the journey. I think that is the best way to be. You know, sometimes figuring it out as you go along and just enjoying the process is the best way to cope with these things. So if you are, I really, really do wish you all the luck. If you have any questions, drop them down below. As I say, I'm not a professional, I don't offer advice, but I will try to answer any questions, and any questions that I can't answer, either someone from our community usually knows the answer to, or I will try and point you in the right direction. And if you did like this video or it brought you any value at all, please don't forget to hit like, comment down below, and hit the bell notification if you want to see next time I post a video. I post videos every single week. Sometimes they're talking head videos like this, sometimes they're vlogs, but they're almost always about living in Canada, life abroad, travel related stuff and things like that. So I really, really hope to see you again, and until I do, I hope you have the most wonderful week, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye.